I never expected my birthday to feel like a funeral. I was turning 26, and while I'd long since stopped hoping for cake or gifts, a part of me still thought maybe this year they'd let me exist without shame, maybe a happy birthday without mockery. But in my family, hope was the cruelest joke of all. The house was packed that evening. My parents had invited neighbors, extended relatives, and of course, Nicole's entire circle of shallow friends. It wasn't for me, it was for Nicole. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. She was 2 years younger than me, dressed in a glittering dress, hair perfectly curled, perched at the center of attention like a queen. Laughter roared as she told some story about her latest accomplishment, a manicure appointment she had filmed for her followers. I stood in the corner, hands folded, trying to blend into the wallpaper. Mom's voice cut through the room. "Ah, but tonight isn't just about our Nicole," she said, smiling a smile that was anything but kind. "It's also Hannah's birthday." For one moment, the room fell silent, eyes turned toward me. My chest tightened, a tiny ember of hope flickering. Maybe, just maybe, they'd treat me like family. Dad strode forward, holding something behind his back. My heart thudded. A gift? A token? Anything? He revealed it with a flourish, a pair of Nicole's sneakers caked with dirt, the laces frayed, the soles crusted from last night's rain. "Here," Dad said, tossing them at my chest. "Clean them. That's your gift." The room erupted in laughter. Mom smirked. "It's fitting. Trash should know its place on its own birthday." Nicole lifted her leg, pointing at the scuffed heel of her shoe. "Don't forget the bottom, Hannah. That's where you belong." The guests chuckled nervously, some looking away, but no one dared defend me. My humiliation was their entertainment. I stood frozen, the shoes heavy in my hands, dirt smearing across my shirt. My cheeks burned, my jaw clenched. "Go on," Dad barked, his voice booming. "Kneel down and do it. That's the only way you'll earn your keep here." Tears stung my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. My stomach churned as I bent down, grabbing a rag from the corner, scrubbing at the mud while Nicole held her foot out like a queen waiting for a servant. She giggled, recording me on her phone. "Smile for the camera, birthday girl. Let's show the world what you're good for." Every swipe of that rag wasn't cleaning, it was carving something deeper into me. A vow. A fire. Mom leaned down, her whisper sharp and cold. "Be grateful. At least we gave you something. You're lucky we didn't just throw you out." The laughter, the flashes of Nicole's camera, the dirt in my hands, it all blurred together. My birthday gift wasn't shoes. It was clarity. Because in that moment, humiliated on my knees while the people who should have loved me cheered, I knew this was the last time they'd ever laugh at my expense. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just smiled faintly at the dirty shoes, knowing I was already planning the day I'd make them choke on their own laughter. After that night, something in me changed. I used to think silence kept me safe, that shrinking into the background would protect me from their cruelty, but kneeling with Nicole's dirty shoes in my hands while everyone laughed, it was like my dignity had been auctioned off for free, and they loved every second of it. The very next morning, Nicole strutted into the kitchen barefoot, tossing her shoes into my lap again. "These still smell like mud. Do better." Mom smirked from the stove. "If you can't keep up with one pair of shoes, Hannah, no wonder no one wants you. You'll always be a failure." Dad folded his newspaper without looking at me. "Stop wasting food while you're at it. You eat like you think you matter. You don't." Their cruelty became routine, more shameless than before. Nicole would scuff her shoes on purpose, walking through mud just to toss them at me. Mom would deliberately spill her wine, then call for me to scrub the carpet. Dad even told a neighbor one afternoon loud enough for me to hear, "She's not really our daughter anymore. She's just maintenance." But I wasn't shrinking anymore. I watched, I listened, I learned. Nicole's whole life revolved around appearances. If she wasn't flaunting her designer sneakers or purses, she was live streaming her shopping sprees. Her friends didn't actually care about her. They cared about the free rides, the free food, the show. I knew if I took away the show, she'd collapse. Mom had built her entire reputation on being the perfect hostess. Her bridge group and neighborhood friends admired her polished image, but beneath it all, she was terrified of shame. She would rather die than be seen as less than flawless. And Dad, his power came from control, his booming voice, his insults, his dominance at home. But I noticed something outside when he was around other men. He tried too hard, he puffed his chest, bragged about money, barked about how his family respected him. He needed people to believe he was in charge. If that image cracked, so would he. I began with Nicole. While she live-streamed in her room, I listened carefully. She kept a closet of treasures shelves stacked with purses, sneakers, and clothes she bragged were worth more than a car. One night, when she left her door open, I slipped inside and examined them. Most of it wasn't real. Knockoffs, second-hand items, fakes she pretended were luxury. I took pictures. Not to post, not yet. Just to remind myself, her throne was paper thin. Then Mom. I started tidying after her card nights, pretending to be obedient. But what I was really doing was collecting evidence. Empty wine bottles stuffed into cupboards, receipts from discount stores hidden in her purse, lipstick-stained glasses she never cleaned properly. For all her perfect hostess bragging, her house was falling apart behind the scenes. And Dad. His weakness revealed itself one Saturday when his drinking buddy stopped by. They were talking in the driveway when I overheard the friend chuckle. "So, when are you finally paying off those loans?" Dad's face turned purple. "What loans?" he barked. The friend raised an eyebrow. "The ones Hannah's been covering for you." I froze behind the door. My secret was out, but not completely. Dad laughed it off, pretending it was a joke. But I saw his eyes flicker with panic. He knew. He knew if more people found out, his whole facade would crumble. That night, as I pressed an ice pack against my swollen jaw that still ached from the birthday plate, I smiled. They thought they'd broken me by making me clean dirty shoes in front of everyone. But all they had done was give me front row seats to their greatest weaknesses. And I was going to use every single one. The plan wasn't about shouting or begging them to acknowledge me. It wasn't about showing relatives proof or catching them on video. No, that was too easy, too familiar. I was going to turn their own pride into the knife. Nicole would lose her image. Mom would lose her reputation. Dad would lose his control. And none of them would ever see it coming. Because when revenge came, it would come from the very hands they had forced into the dirt. Nicole's big night came sooner than I expected. Her exclusive fashion showcase she'd been hyping online for weeks. It wasn't really exclusive. It was just a glorified party in our backyard with borrowed lights and tables my father yelled at me to set up. Mom called it the event of the season. I called it the perfect stage. Guests arrived, dressed up, snapping selfies at the balloon arch Mom had bragged she designed herself. Nicole strutted out in a fake designer jacket, glittering sneakers, and a smug grin that told me she believed this night was hers. I stayed out of sight, but every detail was in my control. The first crack came when Nicole began her big unveiling. She pulled out a pair of limited edition sneakers, holding them high like she was crowning herself royalty. "This," she said proudly into the mic, "is why people call me a style queen." Her friends gasped, phones shooting up to capture the moment. That's when I stepped forward, calm, silent, holding my phone. A single message sent to the group chat Nicole had been running with her friends, the same group she used to mock them behind their backs. Screens lit up across the crowd as notifications buzzed. Confusion first, then gasps. "Wait, did you really call me a parasite?" one girl said aloud. "You said my breath stinks?" Another added, her voice sharp. Nicole froze. No, it's not what you think." But then came the knockout. Photos of her luxury closet, the tags clearly showing fakes, the price stickers still on second-hand items. The room buzzed with laughter, whispers turning into outright ridicule. "She's a fraud. Everything she owns is fake. She lied about all of us." Nicole's face crumpled, the glitter of her jacket suddenly looking cheap under the harsh lights. She screamed, "Stop looking at me! Stop it!" before running off stage, her sneakers scuffing in the dirt. Mom rushed forward, panicked, trying to save face. She raised her voice, hands flailing. "Ignore that nonsense. This is my daughter's night. You all know she's flawless. This family is flawless." That's when I made my second move. The women from her bridge group were there, the ones she bragged to about being debt-free and always in control. I slid an envelope onto the dessert table. One of them opened it, eyes widening at the overdue bills, the red final notice stamps clear under the string lights. "Evelyn," the woman said slowly, holding the papers up for the others to see. "You said you didn't even know what debt looks like." Gasps, whispering, side glances. Mom's face drained, her lipstick smearing as she stammered, Those aren't mine." But everyone knew. The whispers grew louder. Some guests laughed quietly, shaking their heads. Mom's perfect hostess mask cracked, her hands trembling as she tried to gather the papers. "Please," she begged one of the women, "don't believe this." But it was too late. The same people who once admired her were now smirking at her downfall. And then came Dad. He stormed toward me, his face red, spit flying from his lips. "You think you're clever? You think you can humiliate us? I'll show you who's in control." But before he could reach me, one of his drinking buddies stepped up. "Control?" he sneered. "You've been begging me for loan extensions for months. Without your daughter's money, you'd be broke." The yard erupted in murmurs again. All those men Dad puffed his chest at, the ones he called himself leader around, they were laughing. "You're nothing," one of them said. "You can't even run your own house without bullying your kid." Dad stopped in his tracks, his fists trembling at his sides, his power gone, ripped out of him by the truth he couldn't cover anymore. The three of them. Nicole sobbing, Mom trembling, Dad frozen, turned to me at once. Nicole dropped to her knees, mascara streaking down her face. "Please, Hannah, don't let them hate me. I can't survive this." Mom staggered forward, clutching my arm. "You can't let this happen. You'll ruin us. You'll ruin everything." Dad's voice cracked for the first time I could remember. "Fix this, please. We'll lose it all." And me? I stood tall, the weight of years of humiliation finally lifting. My voice was steady, sharper than any broken plate, stronger than any insult they had ever thrown at me. "No," I said simply. "This time you get to live like you always said I should, on your knees, in the dirt." I turned my back on them as the crowd's whispers turned to laughter, not at me, but at them. For once, I wasn't the one holding dirty shoes. For once, they were the ones crawling. And I left them there, broken under the weight of their own cruelty, knowing they would never laugh at my expense again. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.